Welcome to my agentic coding series. I stopped writing code by hand back in October, and I started simultaneously working on a new game called King's Claim. And so I started recording all of my agentic coding sessions as a way to show that you can do this with video games. I've shifted from, handwriting all the code to more of a collaborative and review based model. And I thought it would be helpful for folks to see how the relationship between me and the code has changed. I'm more directing, correcting, exploring with the AI, and then selecting different things that work or don't work. And it's a very iterative process. Not all these code paths, not all the experiments that I do work very well. So I try something and then I make a correction or I enhance it. The whole idea is to have a very rapid iteration pace. And then toward the end, when something is looking okay, then I'll, kind of shape it, clean it up, make it better, that kind of thing. But I wanted to start this agentic coding series with just showing you exactly how I collaborate with AI. In my case, I'm using OpenCode with Google Gemini models. You can use Cloud Code, you can use VS Code and Copilot, you can use Cursor, whatever you want. In talking with coworkers in my professional life and friends online, those of us that are trying this out seem to all be using different tools, and we all seem to be having success by just working closely with the AI. I would call it continuous alignment in a way, kind of like continuous integration tooling. Continuous alignment is kind of this idea where you are in constant communication with the AI. You don't necessarily have to babysit every little step or anything, but you discuss something that you want, then you ask for feedback, you ask for clarifying questions, then you answer those questions. And then when you arrive at a place where you feel like you and the AI are on the same page, when you're aligned, hence continuous alignment, that's when you know that the AI has enough information that it can probably autonomously build what you're asking for with high fidelity. But it requires that conversation, at least in these early stages. So this very first episode I recorded back in October of 2025. I'm posting this now in February. So I've stopped handwriting code almost entirely in my personal projects, almost entirely at work, by using this continuous alignment technique. So I hope you enjoy. I'll be posting at least one of these a week. I've got over 20 hours of content already recorded between October and January of 2026. So here it goes. Hope you find this interesting. Hi, I am going to try to build a game using agentic AI. This is not meant to be some kind of hype thing. I've been using agentic AI via OpenCode for a little while. I'm personally using the Gemini 2.5 Pro model, which you can see right here. But I've also used other models, and they seem about the same. To me, the thing that works really well is OpenCode and its tooling and whatnot. But all that aside, I'm going to work on a really old game design that I wrote up 20-something years ago and never got around to building. And we're going to start really simple. I'll show you what it is. It's called King's Claim. It's like a land competition, like land conquering type game. And it's here. We're here on the main branch. I'll show you exactly what I have. I just have the basics. My Git repository set up. I have my git ignore. I have an agents.md file, which if you don't know what this is to help drive the agentic AI. And then I have a design document. This is a straight up markdown conversion of the old design document that I wrote 20 years ago. It's way overwritten, I think. So one of my first things I'm going to do is trim this down. So if you've ever played Rampart, the old arcade game from the 80s, basically you like build walls around a castle in order to expand your land, and then you have to defend it. Well, that's part of it. Another part is if you've ever played Dungeon Keeper, you would build a dungeon where you would select different parts of the underground dungeon that your minions had to kind of dig out. And I want to have that aspect too. So basically, the aspect, not of digging things out in a dungeon, but where there's a there's a landmass, there's terrain kind of on the land, like land, water, and maybe mountains or something impassable. You have a castle, and you got to build walls around your castle. And as you build enclosed areas of your walls, you basically claim that land. And the goal is to take over 50% or 51% or more of the land against your competitor. It's going to be a 1 versus 1 game. It's going to be online capable. So I'm going to write why am I drawing a blank? I'm going to write a server backend in kind of an unconventional language, which you'll see. And then I'm going to write some kind of client front end, either a web-based one or maybe Godot 4. I'm not sure. Either way, I want to be able to play the game with arcade-style controls, like the games that it was kind of inspired by. So I'm going to build it to work with a gamepad, and then have it be multiplayer. So I'm not going to go through this entire design document, but I'll give you a few highlights. Basically, well, the highlights I just gave you. So there's castles, there's workers. Those workers have to go to quarries to get stone, and then they use that stone to build the walls. And then I'm going to have gates in the walls so that the workers can go, like allied workers can go in and out of the walled in area, but your enemies can't. And the idea is you want to build your walls out quickly, and the more land that you own, the more resources you have, and then that kind of feeds into how many workers you can have. So the more land you have, the more workers you can have, so the faster you can expand. But I also want to have the workers be able to attack your competitor's space, so there's kind of a give and take. So it's a little bit of a real-time strategy game. We'll see how it evolves. I'm going to take you through building this with agentic AI because I found this really fascinating. I've been messing with this stuff recently. I've been able to build entire applications, small ones, but focused ones, using this technology, and I want to experiment with using this to build an old game design. And the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rather large game design, which I think, again, I wrote it 20 years ago. It's 200 something lines long with many paragraphs and whatever. And I want to strip it down to just the things that I just talked to him about. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to say read this design doc and simplify it significantly. The game design should be stripped down to only focus on the following elements. Castle, let's see, players own a central castle. Players have workers that are capped based workers, the number of which are capped by the amount of land you control. You control land by building walls, enclosing parts of the game board. Every player should start with 4 workers, we'll say. Workers must travel to the quarry, we'll say quarries, to fetch stone. Each trip to the quarry gets a worker enough stone to build 1/3 of a section of wall. Once, let's see, a worker builds a wall by placing their stone they want the wall to go as as soon as enough, we'll just say 3/3, which is a weird way to say it, of the stone required to build a wall is present on a given place on the map, a wall is established. The game takes place on a 2D tile map of 256 by 256 tiles. Workers can travel within these tiles. Well, let's see. Each tile on the map is 32 by 32 pixels. Workers' locations are tracked down to the subpixel. Start with that. With that simplification and write the resulting design in design simplified .md. So we're gonna feed that into the AI. I'm going to call the game King's Claim. The old original name when I wrote this 20 years ago was called Capture. So I just decided to go for a different name. Okay, that's already did it. So let's not worry about the old design document. Let's do the new one and just read it. Okay, super short. Core gameplay loop. The game is a real-time strategy where players compete to claim land. Castle, each player begins with a central castle. Each player starts with 4 workers. The total number of workers a player can have is capped by the amount of land they control. Claiming land. Players claim land by building walls to enclose section of the game board. Okay, great. That's pretty straightforward. Now, it's also very high level and could be interpreted many, many different ways. And that's okay. As we go, I'm going to flesh this out, but I'm going to start with just the basics, build it out from there. I'm not going to worry about all the old game mechanics I had in mind 20 years ago. I'm just going to start with a small game loop where a 1v1 map can be built, or a 1v1 game can happen where you just compete against one other person and you try to claim enough of the land. Building mechanics. Okay, workers must travel to quarry to fetch stone. One trip of the quarry gets a 1/3. A worker deposits the stone on a tile where a wall is desired. When 3 units of stone are deposited, that's a much better way of saying that. On a single tile, a wall section is automatically created. Okay, game world. Map takes place a 2D tile map. Each tile is 32 pixels, which I'll do some really basic like 1-bit art for this kind of thing. Okay. Let's just start with this. I already have thought of things that are, there's gaps in there's all kinds of things like how do the workers attack? How much damage do they do? How fast do they move? All that stuff. Right now, we're not going to worry about any of that. We're just going to start with this, right? And I'll add those details as we go. So we're going to work off this design document. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is there's this agents.md file, which you'll see me mess around with and play with and stuff. There's a development workflow here about how to create feature branches, commit the code, test it, that kind of thing. There's this section here called planning, and you're going to see I'm going to build this game out primarily by just using this todo.md file, which I'm going to use to like sort of track how to build the game out. I've had a lot of success with this, and you'll see what I mean there. And then there's an implementation section to just give a little guidance to the agent that tells it how to break down things that we discuss into steps and sub-steps, and then how to sort of tackle the work. I don't know why there's this bullet point here before we start review the subtask. Okay, I'm just going to remove that subtask thing. And then asking for help. I have noticed sometimes the agent kind of goes off the rails and well, just kind of loses its way or gets in an infinite loop of just trying things.
and it can be costly and also just waste a lot of time. So I added this section here. I've had some experience where basically it will notice that it's stuck. It'll stop and it'll ask for help. That is backed up by this file called MCR method, which I forgot to copy over. Let me just do that real quick in another place. See. Okay. So I just copied that file in off camera. And if we do MCR method, how to create a minimal, complete, reproducible example. So this is something I added to the agent that said, hey, when you get stuck, ask for help and use this process in order to do it. All right. So I've made little tweaks to the agents file. We've got the updated design doc, which is nice and short, and I like it the way it is, just super easy. And I've added the MCR thing. Okay. So we're going to move the design document up simplified over the old design document. And then we're going to remove the design simplified. Oh, it's, yeah, I did a move. Okay. Okay. So we're just going to go with design. I use Vim. If you like Vim or don't, whatever, you can use whatever you want. It's just what I'm familiar with. So we're going to start with this. Okay. So let me commit this. Starting point for agentic development work. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do actually before I start working with the AI is I'm going to make a directory called docs, and I'm going to move the design document into docs. Move design doc to docs. Okay, cool. I've also turned on dictation for my computer, so sometimes I'll type here, sometimes I'll just talk to the AI. So let me do that. I think the first thing I want to do is tell the agent, hey, you know, what I've done, what the structure is, where I've put the design document, and I also want to make a directory called server, and I'll make a directory called client because it's going to be an online game. Yeah, and we'll start with that. All right, let's push that code. All right, so I also run a Git server at home, and so that's where I'm pushing. So none of the code is online or anything for anybody, but I just want to push my code every time I work. Okay. Okay, so let's see. What do I want to say? I've created a docs folder, period. I want you to go look in that folder, understand its structure, and every time I ask you to work on documentation, that's where I want you to put it, period. I've also created two folders, one called server and one called client, period. This is going to be an online game, so the server code should all go in the server folder and the client code should all go on the client side, period. Oh, hold on. Okay, I've created so I got to fix a couple of things in the dictation. Docs folder. I want you to go look in the folder and understand the structure, even though it's very simple. Every time I ask you, that's not why, but where. I want you to put it. I want you to put docs, documentation. There we go. I've also created two folders, one called server. We'll put these in backtext so it knows that I'm referring to like a literal thing. This is going to be an online game, so the server code should all go in the server folder. And the client code should go in the client folder. And then I'll just say make sense. And we'll just see what it spits out. Okay, great. Awesome. Write up these. What do I want to say here? Write a summary of this into a readme.md file. Yeah, that was funny. Summary of this into a readme.md file. Okay, cool. Perfect. Okay, great. So I'm already using the AI to kind of feed into itself, right? It's called King's Claim. This directory contains the source code for the King's Claim game. Project structure, client contains all that. We're going to put docs up top. And we're going to put server underneath that. It contains all the server side code for the game. All project related documentation, including game design documents. Okay. Sorry, I just burped. I don't know if you heard that. Cool. Perfect. Did you happen to read Agents? Contains a planning section that describes. Actually, I'm going to do two things. Planning and actually forget the name of the other thing. Building? Implementation. Okay. Planning and implementation sections that describe how I want you to work. Please read those. And we'll start our first planning task. Cool. Now I take a very conversational style with this. That's just me. I mean, it's an AI. You don't have to talk any certain way to it. It's just the way I do. So if you're wondering why I'm being so nice and saying perfect and thank you and good job and things like that, and it's just the way I talk. All right, so I read that. I'm going to trust that it did. Add a note to README so that mentioning that the planning and implementation workflow is documented in the agents file. This is going to update my README. And you'll see the diff here. Okay, development workflow. Planning and implementation workflow for this project. If I go back to README, is in agents. Perfect. I think I'm ready to work. Cool. Great. First thing, actually, I'm going to say this. The first thing that I want you to do is read the design document in the docs folder, comma, and break that down into multiple small steps, each step being a new task in to-do.md. I forgot to create that file, but that's okay. Okay. All I want you to focus on planning right now is creating the backend tasks, comma. Actually, should be a colon. So the 2D tile data structure, the castles, the workers, the quarries, and was that it? I can't even remember now. Design. Castle workers, claiming land, tile map. Okay. Stop there. Okay, cool. So let's see what it does. It should fill out the todo.md file, which does not exist, so it should create it. MD. Maybe. Oh, see, it's already, okay. It's already getting confused. That's interesting. Sometimes this happens right away. Sometimes it happens a little later. Okay, it's getting there. Okay. So it created this. Created 2D tile data structure. World. Okay. Create the castles. Create a castle class. Castle should belong to a player. Yeah. And players. Create a, I didn't even think about this. Is this backticks? Player class. Create the workers, create a worker class. Worker should have a location on the world grid. Worker should belong to a player. Worker should be able to move around the world grid. Okay. Create the quarries, create a quarry class. Class should have a location in the world, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Why do I need the separate world exactly? Contains. Okay. I see. Oh, okay. It's just calling the map the world. So I'm just going to replace world with map. Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay, what else did it change? Because it looked like... Okay. I don't want this simplified thing anymore. Docs, design simplified. Let's do a diff between docs design simplified and docs design. There's no difference. All right, so move docs design simplified to just docs design. Oops. Docs design MD. Note. I have deleted the docs design simplified .md file. Use docs design.md instead. Forward. All right. Initial plan. Cool. Push that code. Now, it's going to forget details like this. This is totally okay. I will also, I've created a new session in OpenCode. And here, I'm just going to rename this to King's Claim. And it's okay that it's going to forget these things, because the next time I have to start a new session or whatever, I'll just remind it. I'll just say, hey, go read the README, you know? And when it reads the README, it will see that there's the development workflow, and it has this stuff and whatever. And so basically, it will be only a single prompt to kind of give it the context to start over whenever I start a new session. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. Okay. So here's the question. What do I want the backend to be in? Well, for me, this answer is obvious, and this is where I'm going to lose a lot of people. I've written a ton of code in Ruby. I know that seems like an insane language to use for a backend. Why not C#, C++, something, you know, why not Unity? Well, because I've written a lot of server code, a lot of raw network code in Ruby, and it's actually great. You can disagree with it. You can build your own games or whatever you want. It's fine. These tutorial videos and demonstrating what I'm doing isn't really about having discussion about the code. it's going to be just showing how to use agentic AI to build things you actually want that actually work, how to make a plan, how to break stuff down, all that. So it's gonna seem weird, but that's what we're gonna do. Now let me see which versions I have installed. Okay, latest one's 346. So I'm gonna go into server and I'm gonna do echo 346 to Ruby version, and I'm gonna do a Ruby emb gemset init, which if you don't know Ruby, it doesn't really matter. Don't worry about it. I'm going to create a gem file, which is where you do your dependency management in Ruby. And I do source rubygems.org. And I'm going to do a bundle install, which will install any dependencies, which are empty right now. If you do other programming languages, you can just think of the gem file as the place you list your general dependencies, and then you have a gemfile.lock that resolves exact dependencies. And there they are. Right now I don't have any, so that's fine. I'm going to go up one level. Server starting point with Ruby 346. And that's it, I guess. Okay, so we've got our starting place. I do want it to just start with the tile class, the map class, and let's actually do player class. I'm going to move that into task 1. This sounds okay. I'm going to have it actually try to do stuff now. Let's work on the server backend code now. You're going to want to put all of the server code in the server folder, comma, and I have started the server backend in Ruby in the Ruby programming language, which I know is a really strange choice for a video game backend. But just go with me here. I want you to implement T001 and put the resulting code in the server folder. Okay, I think that's right. And we've already pushed our code, right? So, oh, yeah, I changed the to-do. We're going to commit as we go so we don't lose anything as we're going here, okay? So this is why I set up the structure ahead of time, right? Like the to-do file, all this stuff. It's going to build this stuff incrementally for me. All right, it's created a tile class, which is, okay, great. I told it was going to have different types of terrain. It's just starting with type grass. That's fine. And then we're going to have the... Oh, it went with world because I didn't tell it to use map instead of world. That's funny. I mean, I did in the to-do file, I think. Right? Yeah, that's fine. But it's got the width and the height. It's and the grid is just a 2D array, which is fine, of tiles. And it's got a get tile and whatever. Okay, so it thinks it's finished. So if I reload this thing, it has changed the dashes into pipes to check those things off. Okay. Let me just correct it. I forgot to mention, instead of using the world class, I want you to call the world class map. That's a really verbose way of saying that. Hold on. Rename the world class to map. And let's put it in backticks. I should have just said it simply the first time. It's kind of silly not to do it that way. Okay, so it's renaming the file. So it moved the file itself. It's changing the class definition to map. It's changing this. Okay, this documentation. Oh, and it even updated the to-do file with the right name. Okay, cool. So if I update this, there you go. And I'm going to start another subshell here. That's, all right. Okay, cool. Great. Commit code and merge to main. And it's okay, so it's committing the code, it merged to main, and it's deleting the old branch. So if I do get branch here, I only have the main branch. If I do a get log, it's got this. Okay, great. Okay. Now, I guess we can just go on to the next thing, right? By breaking, this is important. So I've had a lot of success breaking things down into small, implementable little pieces. So that's why I have it breaking it down into these individual tasks and then each of those tasks into subtasks. So I'm just going to review, I think T001 is done, so I'm going to delete that. Oh, hold on. There we go. Want to create the castle class, have a location on the map. Yep, that makes sense. Belong to player. Yeah, that seems small enough. Awesome. Now implement T002. This time it should do the whole development workflow, I think, and commit and merge and everything. So now we got our player class. We got our castle with the XY. Okay, cool. Cool. Now it's checking off that it did the thing in the to-do file. Okay, cool. So now I can go over here and just see that. Oh. Okay. Let's take a look at exactly what it did. It should have a player and a castle class. And it does XY, player belongs to, okay. This is very minimal. I like it that way. I want it to go incremental here. Player name, okay. Yeah, we can have a name. I don't think I need that right now, but that's fine. Oh. Commit and merge. So I'm also reviewing what it's doing along the way. Now I won't, as the game gets more complex, I won't go line by line by line necessarily. What I'll do is I'll find a way to build out my testing to make sure that things work the way that I expect. And I won't worry too much about being really picky with the code review necessarily. All right, so you can see that topic branch is gone. I'm back on main. Everything's merged back here. So I'm going to push my code so that I have it backed up, and then I'm going to delete this and have it do the workers. Implement T003. So you can see I'm in this workflow, and I first talk about what I want. I have it break things down into a plan of tasks and subtasks, and then I have it go one task at a time and have it build it out, and I review its work. And even though that might seem really tedious, the thing is, I'm only a few minutes into this, and I've already got this basics set up. Now, you might think to yourself, oh, come on, this code is all very simple, very straightforward. Like, couldn't I have just typed this out? Like, maybe. But you'll see as things get more complex, because I've got all this documentation, and I'll be building this stuff out, and I'm giving the context to the AI, it will be able to keep track of almost all these things. Now, it will not do this correctly 100% of the time. But I have techniques I'll show you as I go along to kind of pull it back from the edge and undo things and start over when it needs. But for the most part, it's doing okay. So let's, see what it did. Checked off its work. We've got a player. Player's got workers now. That's an array of workers. That's great. Now I've got an add worker method, which is fine, I guess. And we've got a worker class. Okay, cool. And you can assign it to a player. That's great. Commit and merge. Cool. It even leaves a commit message, which I don't value commit messages all that much. It doesn't really matter. It's fine. You're also going to notice in the future, it's going to repeat these task numbers. It's just going to arbitrarily start over. I don't really care about the task numbers per se. They're just a way to separate out the tasks for the AI. So it doesn't really matter if they're consistent or if they're always counting up or whatever. Doesn't really matter. All right, so that's all done. Great. So now we're going to have it do the queries. Great. Create a query class. Should have a location. Be able to travel to a quarry to fetch stone. Okay, cool. Oh, this is actually, this subtask is quite nuanced. There's a lot to that. I don't want to cover work or travel just yet, so I'm going to take out that subtask because I don't want it to do that. I've simplified T004. Please reread it before implementing. So it's going to reread it just to bring that back in the context right away, and then it's going to start implementing. So it's going to create a query class. This is all real time, by the way. This is not sped up video. This is just, yeah, what's happening here. Okay. It thinks it's done. New query class, very small. XY. Okay, great. Oop, hold on, I did not want to actually do that. It made changes, so I'm going to overwrite. Commit and merge. Cool. Okay, so we got the basic stuff down. Let's see. Oh. I need to think about what the next steps are. Basically, I need for the map class and the tiles to keep track of whether they're passable or impassable. For example, two workers shouldn't be able to stand on top of each other. If you have a tile with a castle on it, you shouldn't be able to walk through the castle. You shouldn't be able to walk through walls, that kind of thing. So let me just think out loud a little bit here. I forgot the wall class. Walls need to track how many hit points they have for both the purposes of building the wall and later in the game when enemy workers can destroy walls. Period. Can you write out a plan for a new task to create a wall class that sounds like it will do this? Okay. Forgot the wall class. Walls need to track how many hit points they have. Just reviewing to make sure this looks right before I submit this prompt. And later in the game, when, not win, but when, viewers can destroy walls. Can you write out a plan for a new task to create a wall that sounds like it will do this? Now this should result in a new to-do, maybe T005 if I'm lucky. Yep, in the to-do file. Okay. So it came up with the plan, but it didn't write it. I want it to always write to the todo.md file because I want it to track that, and I want the file itself to be the thing that that the AI can always refer to. Sounds good, period. Write that to the to-do file, and then proceed with implementation. And we're going to go back here, and when I'm referring to a literal file, I always like to use the literal reference so that it knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it's in one step, it's going to update this to-do file with basically the plan from above. So I should be able to reload this, and there it is. Set no wrap. And it's going to go to the implementation, which again, should not be much. The wall is going to have an XY location in the world, HP, max HP. Okay, cool. Take damage. Okay. Oh, very nice. Fully built, greater than equal. Okay, so even put some logic in here. Add stone, take damage. Great. That looks like it'll basically work. Okay. Commit and merge. So we've got the start of the code we're going to need here, and I'm actually able to work pretty much in real time, almost as fast as I could if I wasn't talking over or narrating. Okay, cool. Push my code. These are just aliases for like get push. It pushes the code, and then it right here, it pushes the code and it pushes the tags. I don't have any get tags anywhere here, but I'm going to use those later probably. Okay. So now I need some kind of code or script or something I can run in order to start up the server and simulate the game world. I wonder, server worker? There's no kind of, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Move. It has a move class, but there's no like game loop simulation or anything like that. So I need to think about how I'm going to make that work. Okay. New task, colon. I need a script to start the game server, comma, load a specific map, comma, and start the game session with 2 players, period. Write up the plan for that in to do. And I'll review it before we start. Okay. Oh, oops. Redo. Oh, man. Sorry, let me just type continue. It should pick up where I left off. I sort of prematurely killed it. I didn't really mean to. Okay, cool. Okay, here's a funny thing I did. It put task 5 in there again for some weird reason. You know, this is the imperfection of AI, but it's also given me a lot of speed, so it's okay. Create a game server that starts up. Create a main server script called server.rb. Script will initialize a map object. Create 2 player objects for each player. The script will create 1 castle at a starting location for each player. The script will create 4 worker objects near their castle. The script will contain a main game loop to manage game state updates in the future. That's great. Yeah, I think that's fine. We'll start with just the basics. And I'm going to delete this. I made a small tweak to a small, I don't know why I put a comma there, to do, please reread it to update yourself, comma, then proceed with T006. Okay, cool. I was just letting it know that I updated that file because sometimes if you save a file, change something that is in the AI's context and it doesn't know that you changed it, it can sometimes get a little confused. So I just told us to reread that, and of course it's already it's already done. Server. Cool. So now it's requiring all the other stuff here. So let's see if we can actually run this. Let's do Ruby server, and let's see what it does. Starting King's Claim server. Hey, look at that. Okay. 4 workers, clay for player 1, player 2. Okay. Cool. Is Quarry in here? Okay. Let me have it commit what it's done. And we also need to create a few queries around the map. Because workers need a stone quarry to go get the stone from. All right. Cool. New task, : the server script should also initialize 1 quarry per player. Okay. Update server RB to create 1 quarry object for each player. Place each quarry at a starting location near the player's castle. Yeah. Do it. And we'll see. It's just going to make some changes to the existing thing. It's going to require the quarry class. Okay. Cool. Great. Cool. I've cleaned up all the to-dos. Good work. Commit and merge. And let's just run this server thing again, make sure it runs and doesn't stop. Okay, it does. And if I open server.rb, is it just an infinite loop? Okay, it's just an infinite loop right now, and that's fine. Later, I'll have like a map editor and stuff. I just want it to kind of do something really basic right now and not overthink it. So it would be really nice to be able to visualize what it's done. Okay. And so what I wanted to do just right now, this is going to be a network multiplayer game. So there's going to be network communication and like a simulation loop and stuff in here. But what I wanted to do is just start by printing the current state of the map. And we have a map that's 256 by 256, I guess. So what I'm going to do is create a new tab here. And let me think. CD code King's Claim. And I'm just going to make this really tiny, I guess. I'm just going to make the text in this window really tiny so that maybe it can print. It's not going to work, though. I don't really want to make it so tiny that you can't even read it. Anyway, I want it to actually print out in a loop the current state of the map. I guess I don't really want this thing here. Let me just try to explain it, what I want. New task, colon. I want you to update the server main game loop so that every iteration of the loop, it prints the current state of the map with the castles and the terrain and the workers and the quarry to standard out. And that just means it's going to print it to the console, in case you don't know what that means. In fact, I'm going to use the term stdout, which update the server main game loops that every iteration loop it prints the current. I don't know why it puts commas in everywhere. It's weird. Current state of the map with the castles, the terrain, and the workers and the quarry. Lots of ands. I did say a lot of ands. Each item on the map should be denoted with a single ASCII character listed below. For grass terrain with nothing above it. Q for a quarry. C for a castle. Actually, no. N, a number, 1 or 2. To indicate the castle location of player 1 and player 2's castles, respectively. W for a worker. Did I miss anything? Write up a plan in to-do for my review. Okay. So I like that it like embellishes on the plan a little bit, like, because you don't have to be perfect remembering everything. Since it has a lot of stuff in its context, it can often suggest things. Okay. Update the main game loop in server.rb in each iteration. Clear the console screen. Create a temporary 2D character grid representing the map. Fill the grid with a default character for grass terrain space. Place the quarries Q on the grid. Place the player castles 1 and 2 on the grid. Place all workers W on the grid. Print the entire character grid to standard out. Add a short delay sleep at the end. Okay, it's already done that. Okay, 256 by 256 is going to be too big for now. And that's okay. I think the size is maybe parameterized. Oh, it defaults to 256 by 256. Okay. That's okay. Let's just see what it does. I can always tweak it later. All right. Sounds good, period. Proceed with T008. All right. Cool. Okay. So created. It's going to clear the screen. It's doing this stuff. It's doing render grid. That's fine. So, okay. Let's do a get diff. Okay, so here it just filled in the contents of the loop, the main loop, which makes sense. Now, I don't really want one giant file. I'm eventually going to break this up. but for now, this is fine. So let's go full screen here, and let's do Ruby server. Cool. Okay, it's not perfect. I'm going to cancel it, actually. Interesting. Well, I see one quarry, I see one castle, and I see some workers. I don't know where player 2 is. So that's interesting. Let's take a look. Does it initialize both players? It does. Castle, okay. Let's see what the printing does. Render grid. What is this render grid? Like, oh, render grid is just a variable. I thought it was a method. Okay. Okay. Close, comma, but it seems like the render grid is only 40 by 40. But what I want you to do is print out the entire 256 by 256 map. That's why I don't see everything. Okay, so I made a mistake, right? No big deal. Understood. Rendering the full will be a lot of text, but I'll make the change. Well, it was right to think that it was a lot of text, but that's just not what I want. I want to just see everything right now, and for testing purposes, we will make smaller maps and stuff later, in a later step. Okay. So now it's... Okay, now it's doing the full width and height of the map. Maybe that'll work. So... Oh. Okay, add the following to README. A section about how to start a server with the following command. Ruby server.rb. I'm going to tell it this so that it has this written down as something I can do later. Okay, now start the server and notice that it crashes. Syntax error. Please fix that. It'll try to run the server. You'll see the syntax error. And it's like, oh, yeah, it's got an extra end. Okay, see the problem. It's going to fix it. And then it's going to try to run the server again. Probably had some duplicated code at the end, which is what it tends to do. Okay. Great. It seems you fixed it. Before actually sending it that, I'm going to run it myself. Okay, and I'm going to cancel it. And we're just going to go... I guess I can't see the whole screen, can I? But if I scroll up enough, I've got this castle and workers near a quarry, and then I've got, should see number 2, and some workers and near a quarry. Okay, great. This is good enough for now. So I'm going to stop the video here. I wanted to give you a taste for what agentic programming is like. I'm going to build out the whole game live on video so you can actually see how I break down the problems, how I get it to do step by step, how I iterate on the design, how I test it, for example, with just basic printing what you have, just so I can do some debugging. I'm also going to need to eventually do something other than an infinite loop server where the agent won't be able to run the server and verify that it's working because it'll just start and never finish. And so anyway, I'll build all that stuff out. For now, I just wanted it to get to that point. and make this kind of progress, right? So now we've got a reference to how to start the server, which I can just give it that instead of giving it this full command every time. I can say, okay, start the server, whatever I want it to do. It knocked out 8 tasks, and we've got a very, very basic game loop in the background. And yeah, next video, I'm not sure where I'll go next, but probably something like using a smaller map for testing and maybe building out the worker AI a little bit. For example, like what I want to have is for players to be able to issue commands like, oh, I want you to build this wall. Like the player using the gamepad should be able to mark out where they want walls, and then workers should automatically get that list of tasks of places they need to build walls, and they should automatically go start walking toward the quarry, go get some stone, and then walk to the place where they need to put it, and they start building those walls. And oh, I just realized I'm using the letter W for workers, but also I have walls, which also starts with W. So I'll have to come up with another character for a wall. But anyway, we're going to do this stepwise. We're all going to do it 100% live. It's going to be a real thing that if I don't completely mess this up, hopefully, I will be able to put this game online. You can play it. Maybe I'll even allow things like, hey, if you want to write an AI that plays for you against human players and stuff like that, maybe you could do that. But that's it for now. I think this video is probably long enough as it is. And if you like this kind of stuff, even if you disagree with me using Ruby for a multiplayer backend, whatever, hopefully what you'll get from it is some idea of how you could use agentic AI to build really whatever you want. But in this case, I'm going to do a game just for fun. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, share it around. Even if you think it's trash, hey, share it to places where people think it's trash. Maybe someone there will actually like it, and share it with people that will like it. And yeah, I also have a podcast, which if you look around on my channel, you'll see I interview people occasionally, talk about other game development type stuff, or just creative things in general. And yeah, hope you enjoy this. Thanks.